Hello, class. This is Dr. Mike, and this is our last day of lecture. This is chapter 12. I want to remind you again, if you don't remember, that tonight is the last day of the class. It ends at 12 o'clock. If you need some additional time, please ask, and I can extend you through Sunday. But I do need to have everything in by Sunday. That is very important. You can actually make up any work for the 3 weeks except for discussion boards. So if you're missing something from the past 2 weeks and you want to make it up, you can actually do that. Okay, today, so we're going to start with chapter 12 today, and we want to talk about some very important things about business presentations and how that should work. As I told you before, we live in a team-oriented world today. That's not you going in, working your job, leaving it, going home, and forgetting it. But more and more teams actually run the business, whatever it is. It could be a team that works in a nursing home. It could be a team that works in a factory. And I've been on many of these, and they sometimes work well, sometimes they do not. They have their own set of issues many times. But so you can't say, well, I won't ever be making a business presentation, or I won't ever be doing this. Don't ever say you won't be, because kind of like Peter in the Bible, when he said to Jesus, "You'll never wash my feet." And about 3 minutes later, Peter, of course, Jesus is washing his feet. So never is a long time to make that statement. So let me encourage you to do your very best, to pay attention, to read through the materials this week, and to make the most out of what we've got here to learn. I think that probably, as far as your work is concerned, that chapter 11 would be one of your more helpful chapters in this book. There are several, but this one would be probably very important. So we want to today, as far as our learning objective number 1, to talk about the various kinds of business presentations, to discuss 2 important first steps when you are preparing for any of those presentations, and how do you get started. Maybe your boss asks you to do a presentation of something your team has done or is doing to the rest of the other teams. So speaking skills are important. If you're able to speak in front of a group, you'll be amazed at how you'll be asked to do things like this. It may increase your opportunities for promotion, and it's useful at every career stage. But most desired soft skills sought in job applicants today would be literally speaking in front of a group of people. And so you can learn to do it. You may not enjoy doing it. I remember when I became a pastor, my first message was like 3 minutes long and 32 pages of notes. So I flew through the thing, but that was the end of that. I began to speak, and could easily speak an hour without even thinking about it. So that doesn't bother me a lot. I would get up in the Philippines sometimes when I was there and speak to crowds of 5,000. Which is, a whole different animal. So there are different types of business presentations. Sometimes you'll be asked to give a briefing, which is just summarize an issue or a problem or a proposal. Give us the down and dirty, the brief part, the 1 minute version. Then you might be asked to do reports. We've talked about those, informal or persuasive reports. You might do a podcast. That would be a pre-recorded audio or video clip delivered online. This Zoom class is a podcast. Virtual presentations, doing online meetings. That's exactly what I'm doing here with the slides. We're presenting to you as my students, and you're seeing the online version of my slide presentation, or webinars, which are web-based presentations of lectures or workshops or seminars. You'll see a lot of these called TED Talks sometimes, which I use sometimes in my classes, that are very important. One of the things that's very, very important is knowing your purpose. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want your listeners to remember? Or what do you want them to do? Is there something you want them to get up and do? You need to know your audience, anticipate what their reaction is going to be. How do you relate to their needs? What techniques work? How to ensure they'll remember. Think about if you're doing a presentation on a job improvement. Change is difficult. People do not enjoy change. You probably in the same boat. You probably don't enjoy change very much, but change is the coin of the realm, if you will. And so many times a presentation is about how do you convince your coworkers that this change you're suggesting is going to be beneficial to them. If they can see this beneficial, then they will more than likely buy into it and want to see something happen. There are 4 audience types that you need to think about. They're the friendly, the neutral, the uninterested, and the hostile. And you'll find most of those in just about every place you work. So the learning objective number 2 is to explain how to organize the introduction, the body, and the close, as well as how to build audience rapport in a presentation. And those are important. As far as organization and repetition, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. That's basically how you set one up, just like you do any other paper. You have an introduction, a body, and a close. The introduction is important because you need to capture your listener's attention. You have about 30 seconds to do that before they tune you out. And if you succeed, they will listen to you. Sometimes you can do that with a story. Sometimes you can do it with something that's happened, or, maybe there's been, a major failure in your job area. Start with that. Identify yourself and why you're the one doing this. You're on the team that handles change. And so you're here to show them some ideas, and then preview your main points. How do you capture attention? Well, you can start by asking a question. You can startle people with a fact. I would not probably do jokes, or I'd be very careful with stories and quotations, making sure that they, that it's fitting, and then a promise so that they get satisfaction. How do you build credibility? Well, you describe your position, your knowledge, your education, you dress professionally. You'd be surprised how people listen to people that dress up a bit, how different the behavior is. When I was teaching private high school, we used to have dress up day on Friday, and the boys had to wear a tie. The girls, of course, already wore dresses, but the boys had to dress up pretty much. And that was the best day of the week because people behave differently with a tie on. You always make eye contact and you connect with your audience. Maybe you call some, people's names or whatever, just to let them know you're familiar with them. The body of the presentation, by the same token, you focus on a limited number of points. You only have 20 minutes max. After 20 minutes, people go to sleep on you. Your mind can only absorb what your butt can endure. So keep that in mind. Develop every point with adequate explanation, with details. Use a clear organizational strategy. For example, go in chronological order or go in order of importance. All those things will work. In the conclusion, you summarize what you've talked about. Leave the audience with a specific, noteworthy takeaway. Include a statement or closing thought that indicates that you're finished. Don't just keep saying in conclusion, if you're not concluding. Nothing's worse than that. As a pastor, I've heard preachers do that. They'll conclude 25 times and never get done. So building audience rapport is interesting. Using imagery helps, effective imagery, analogies, similes, metaphors, personal anecdotes, personalized statistics. Sometimes you have these verbalized signposts that help, like previewing something or summarizing or switching directions. And then, of course, your nonverbal, your attire, your body movement, eye contact, facial expressions, all of those have a great deal to do with your listening and your attentiveness. And you've all known great speakers that you were caught into the trap of listening to very quickly. You also need to understand that visual aids are important, but how to avoid ineffective visual aids. You want to clarify the main points. You want to improve the comprehension of your audience. You want to increase their interest and make the speaker appear more professional, better prepared, more persuasive, and you want to jog their memory. There are, basically the value of a visual aid is tell me I forget, show me I remember, involve me and I understand. We only remember a certain small percentage, like 6% of what we hear, about 20% of what we see, and about 20% of what we write down. That's about 40, or 46%. But if you teach and you show a slide presentation and you have them take notes, that 46%, the synergy involved will jump to like 80%, because the involvement is so very important in getting people's mind on what you're doing. You can use PowerPoint. Many times they're overused. You can use handouts. Zoom presentations are currently my favorite thing to do, but it all depends on the situation. So create an impressive, error-free multimedia presentation that shows you have a firm grasp on the basic design principles, and that's very important. So how do you prepare an engaging presentation? First of all, look at the situation. Is this a live presentation, or is it just something you're going to email to people? Is it a self-running presentation at a kiosk? It's video, it's going to run over and over. Is it saved on the server to watch when your employees, when it's convenient for them? Or is it a self-contained file like a slide deck, PowerPoint? So you want to adjust the slide design to the audience. Understand colors. Don't use, colors have a major effect on people. So, that's why advertising uses reds and yellows, because they make you hungry. Greens and browns kind of kill hunger. So maybe your slide presentation would be better green and brown before lunch, when everybody's thinking about getting out, going to eat. So, think about that. The power of images, in this case, you're using a bar graph, a graph, or you're using a kitty cat, which may be, might not be the best thing, or a picture of a baby, but whatever. And then you want to impact your special effects, like your graphs and things, so that people can see the relationship. Your online business, there's a lot of reasons why people start selling online, because it can grow your business globally. It's convenient for your customers. We've learned through COVID-19 how convenient it is just to order from Amazon or Macy's or wherever, and business is conducted 24/7. You don't have to have a retail space. You don't have to hire employees. And we're probably going to go to more of that, because more and more places don't have enough people to carry on their business. You're already seeing a drastic change in restaurants. The hours they're open, what they're doing to account for less and less people. Why should you sell online? These are all the reasons here. You can save a lot of money. I operated, when I had a store in the 80s, I operated a kiosk in our local mall for Christmas, and I paid $1,800 for a 10 by 10 space. And you realize I had to sell $10,000 a month just to pay the rent. So, you have to perform. So 7 steps to a powerful multimedia presentation. Focus on the text. Select your backgrounds and fonts carefully. Choose images that help you communicate your image. Never put an image on a display just for the sake of an image. Create good graphics. Add special effects, create hyperlinks, and move your presentation online. Hyperlinks are really important if you want somebody to go somewhere and look further at something like a article or a web page. So in number 5, specify delivery techniques for use before, during, and after the presentation. How do you want to deliver this? You want to do it from memory? You want to read from notes, or you want to just do it extemporaneously? Extemporaneously is the best. It's insulting to people just to read to them without any extra commentary. I mean, most people can read. They could take, most of us have taken training over and over, that if they had allowed us to just simply take the thing by itself and read it and take the quiz, we would have done it much better before we do that. Some of you suffer from, being scared of public speaking. People's number 1 fear usually is speaking in public, and number 2 is death. Death is number 2. Think about that. It scares people worse to speak in public than it does to die. So this means the average person, if you have to go to a funeral, you're better off in the casket than doing the eulogy. So how do you overcome that? I've been there, done that. First night that I spoke in a church, I'd been doing Sunday school classes since I was 14, but I still scared to death. I think a little bit of fear is good for you. It makes you kind of, come face to face with your fears. Talk to yourself, take a sip of water, sift the spotlight to your visuals, and just keep moving. Don't ever stop. If you mess up, don't stop. Keep going your presentation. People will forget that a lot longer if you don't stop. Before your presentation, think about what you're going to do very thoroughly. Rehearse it, time yourself to see how long it is. Dress appropriately. You probably want a lectern to lay your things on, not to prop on. Do not lay on the lectern while you're giving a speech. That's the most horrible posture you can have as a speaker. Check the room, greet audience members, practice stress reduction. Don't sit up on the stage and just sweat waiting your turn. Before the thing starts, go out and meet people, talk to people. A pause is very effective. If you can just wait a moment, don't just dive in. Present your first line from memory. Make eye contact, even if it's just with one person. The person sitting in the front of the row, first person you look at, that helps. Do not read from your notes. Work on controlling your voice. Those are all good things. Be as enthusiastic as you can. The more you are sold on a subject, the more you're going to do. Don't apologize. Never apologize. Just keep moving, and you will naturally slow down usually. And know when to pause to make important points. And I think all those things are really, really helpful. And then summarize when you get to the end. After your presentation, then do handouts, encourage questions, repeat questions, reinforce your main points, let people know that you are hearing them, and don't become defensive. That's huge. You don't have to answer everything, but give answers, and with a summary and with some appreciation. And I think that you'll be fine when you think about it, when you get a little practice. So basically keep those things in mind. I think they'll be helpful to you. Many of you won't ever do a presentation, but then in case you are, you should be equipped to do that. Well, folks, that ends our 3 weeks. And I hope that you take away from this class some things that will be helpful to you, that you'll become a great professional, do a great job, and have a great career. Thank you so much.